This is Amy with the Bitcoin Brew. We're here on site in Austin, Texas at the AT&T Center. I'm joined by a guest here at the Summit 2022, Pavan. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So we were talking, you're in the TBC, you're a member with us. How long have you been a member? What brought you into the council?
Oh, it's just recent. Became members recently, and I think what we're doing with blockchain, I want the world to know that there's much more to blockchain than simply. I shouldn't say simply. I don't want to devalue this, but there's more to it than cryptocurrency trading. I think that's the first generation application of blockchain technology. The real application, the real future is commerce, bringing people together, connecting our souls together. That's what blockchain is really about.
So how are you using blockchain? Are you you told me SunWest
Yes.
is your company. Tell me, how are you all using blockchain for business?
Sure. So I have two companies, SunWest Mortgage and Diligence. Diligence is my tech company, which has done all the blockchain innovations and development. And so it's like this. In the real estate mortgage industry, when you buy or sell a house, the most expensive part of that transaction, what people don't realize, is 6% in real estate commissions and approximately 3% in mortgage commissions. Okay, so about 9%. So if it's roughly a $2 trillion industry. It's projected to be $2 trillion next year. So that's $180 billion per year, right?
Wow.
And most of that commission, well earned, these people work very hard, is well earned because there's a lack of trust between the parties, the buyer, the seller, the lender, the realtors, right? And all that money is being spent on trust management and trust acquisition. Okay, and blockchain solves the trust problem. Okay, so there's two ways to solve the trust problem. One is you impose an overlord, right, that controls everything.
That sounds terrible.
Yes.
Okay.
But that happens all the time, right? You have central clearinghouses, banks, and so forth. Nothing wrong with banks; they have their place. But life is full of overlords. There are people that control parts of your commerce, and they're necessary. Obviously, we've seen what happens when something is completely free for all with collapse of FTX. So there is a need for it at some level, but we don't want it to be too much, right?
I see.
And so the more we can create technologies that pushes truth into our hands, right, the more efficient the market becomes, the better society performs.
I see. So you're talking about the lenders, the realtor, the people who oversee the writing of the terms and whatnot. Aren't these people sort of checking each other? It's like a checks and balances situation.
That is actually you nailed the problem, right? It is a checks and balances situation. It is very, very manual, and every time some information changes hands, is checked and rechecked and rechecked, and that's where all the expenses come in. That's why That's why $180 billion a year is spent on checking and rechecking and rechecking.
Because you have to pay these people that are doing all this work.
Right.
And it takes a long time. I recently signed paperwork on my house.
Yeah.
It was literally that thick of paper.
Did you just buy or did you refinance?
I refinanced, honestly,
Okay.
but bought in 19 and then refinanced. And it's such a rigmarole, so much red tape, so much wasted time.
Yes.
Tell me how blockchain is going to solve that.
So the way our technology works is that if you're able to put trust in the front end part of the loan and real estate transaction. Now, there's other people that are using blockchain for the end part of it, which is keeping track of the property registry.
I see.
But I don't agree with that strategy because you might save pennies when $180 billion annually are being spent on the front end side, right?
Wow, right.
So yes, it's not that it's wrong, but I don't think it's the highest value and the best application of it. So if you apply it at the front end, and if I can make it so that when you go to buy a house, and it also helps in the refinance process, but it's easier to visualize when you're buying, when you're trading a commodity. When you go to buy a house, if you can trust your realtor, right, and if you can trust your loan officer, if the loan officer says this is going to happen this way, if the realtor says that you trust this borrower because he hasn't made any other offers, he hasn't double shopped you, right?
Right.
And the realtor tells the borrower trust his seller, he hasn't double shopped you, right? Because so much of that is just you have to trust a person that you may not know.
Certainly.
Right. You trust your realtor, you trust your loan officer because you do some Googling, you read some reviews, but how much do you really vet them?
Good question.
Right. You don't really know them, right? Like recently, for example, I bought a condo for my daughter, and I had the earnest money deposit $100,000, and I wrote a check payable to the real estate broker, right?
Right.
And he's licensed, regulated, but I'm like, this $100,000, I don't know what his net worth is, right? He's a nice guy. I got to know him over a couple of days, but that could just disappear, right? So wouldn't that? Fortunately, everything worked out just fine, but wouldn't that? If it's all electronic, if it's on the blockchain, and you press a button and everything just happens. Right. And
it's verifiable.
Right.
It's public
Exactly.
for everybody to see.
Exactly. Right. Now, the difference is I wrote him a check $100,000 for the earnest money deposit. If it disappeared, I'm not going to miss it. I'll be like, okay, I'll be fine. Right.
Sure.
But there's other people, right, that maybe put a $10,000, $20,000 earnest money deposit to buy their first home. That's their life savings. If that disappears on them, right? It took them 10 years to save up, and that disappears on them.
Right.
They're going to have a challenge, right? So, if you can take and so much time and effort is spent on those trust issues, and if you can resolve those things and it becomes a one click, okay, then you've accomplished multiple goals. Number one, you made the process streamlined. You've increased trust so that you automatically reduce cost, right?
Okay.
There's a risk premium everywhere that anytime you do a transaction, someone is charging you risk premium at some point, right? You swipe a credit card, you're paying anywhere from 1% to 2% of risk premium, right? The credit card companies take that.
Yes.
They're taking it from you indirectly because they're charging the merchant, right? So every time you can reduce risk in something, you reduce the risk premium, and that means you transfer the economics to the consumer. And if you transfer economics to consumer, it makes overall process more efficient.
I get that.
Yeah.
Is this going to be possible to roll out? I mean, because the realtor's going to have to know how to utilize it. The government entities that have the title are going to have to know how to use it. There's so many different chains of command that this will have to go through.
Well, that's the beauty of the product is, and that's why I have both companies working together. My tech company developing it, and my finance company, which is licensed and regulated, okay, is the primary vehicle of execution, and so the application is so simple to use because it's an AI conversation tool.
Oh wow!
So you literally just talk to it, and you tell it what you want to do, and it does it. Okay, so the true test for a technology to go mainstream is can grandma use it?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And my mom, who is a grandmother of several grandchildren,
Did you try it out on her? Like
she can
test
use
it
it.
out?
I tested it on her. She can use it.
I love that. So what protocol are you using for the blockchain side, the tech piece? Which of the blockchains are you using?
We're using Ethereum as the underlying blockchain technology, and we use, we don't have the mining problem, the consumption of power, because we're using the proof of authority approach, but it is an innovative approach to using proof of authority. So it's highly scalable and highly secure. I'll talk more about how we're doing the proof of authority. We can add blocks without the risk of tampering or
I see.
a bad authority.
Okay, let me stop you for a second because I've heard of proof of work. I've heard of proof of stake. Proof of authority I've never heard before. What is that?
So proof of authority is you have the members of you have a group of people who are given the authority to give it, to say, okay, this block is valid.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it's the members within the network of the chain. Some people have the ability to say this is valid. Authenticate.
Got it.
Right.
Okay. I'm straight.
Right.
Sorry.
Which seems to go against what I said in the beginning about not having anyone central control.
True.
Right. But this is the balance in between. There's a level of central control. There's a level of public, but it's also publicly open. Okay. And the way we've implemented it is it's impossible to have any one of the authorities to
cheat
to
or
cheat,
yes,
cheat.
like
Right,
to fudge things.
Yes.
I get that.
And I can talk about that more later as our patents get locked down.
How many patents do you have pending?
I think we've won a few dozen already. I think we filed in the process of our 60s and been filed.
Okay, so do you have properties on the blockchain right now?
Do I have properties on the blockchain?
Like, do you have this material that you're telling me about, this data? Is it being used right now?
Well, it's it is not being used in production right now. No,
I see.
It's in our test environment. We are in the process of building a network of banks. We're in the process of building a network of banks into our chain, and we hope to have 400 banks over the next 12 months.
Very cool.
So then, as more banks get added onto our network, the consumer will get more choices because they'll be able to go and get their financing from any of the banks that's on our network, that's on their chain, and each one of them is an authority. So part of the way the problem is solved is that everyone that is an authority is a regulated entity. Okay. And on top of that, there is mechanisms within our chain that automatically detect a bad actor. Okay. So that in case there's an Enron in one of these entities, it'll be detected and kicked out, and the blocks won't be allowed.
Best of luck with this project. Will you tell our viewers where can we find you online? The names of your companies?
Well, you can find us at usemorgan.com.
Right.
Okay, that's the application. Just go on there, click, and start talking to Morgan. And one of the things the first thing you should try with her is just ask for one of these cool T-shirts.
I do like that shirt. I love the colors.
Yes, the colors are great.
Yes.
And if you ask her for a T-shirt, she'll mail one to you.
Well, perfect.
Okay, and then you can ask her any financing and mortgage questions, and she'll answer. The key with Morgan, what's different about her than everything else, if you go to Google and you ask Google a question, you'll get 10 zillion responses, right? It'll be like instantaneous, but you'll have to figure out what the right answer is.
You'll have to filter it yourself.
Right. There's the truth you have to determine. Right.
Oh, right.
Okay. So with Morgan, she'll only give you one answer. Okay, and the answer she gives you is warranted by SunWest, my finance company. So it's not instantaneous, right? So depending what you ask her, it could take from seconds to minutes, but you will only get one answer, and it's a warranted answer.
Very neat.
Okay, so you can start to see how this starts changing the paradigm, and how it solves the truth and trust problem right up front.
Yes. Well, thank you again for joining us.
Okay.
You can find more interviews on the Bitcoin Brew. Thank you for sitting down with us today.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
I'm Lee Bratcher, the president of the Texas Blockchain Council. Thank you to everyone who came out to this year's summit, helping us make it the best one yet. Now more than ever, we need professional industry associations like the TBC to help craft effective policy instead of the CEOs of centralized exchanges roaming the halls of various state capitals or in DC. Texas is quickly becoming the center of the universe for Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital assets. If you want to be part of the future that we are crafting here in Texas, join the TBC today.